Hey friends, it's Mr. Michael, and I hope that this video finds you and your families well. Well, just yesterday, you all got to see a story told by Miss Jane. And it was the story of Jesus' Last Supper, his last meal with his disciples. And Jesus washed the disciples' feet, and they ate together, and they broke bread together. And so you got to see that part of the story. Now, today is Good Friday. And it might even seem just a little silly that we call today Good Friday when you're going to see in the story that this was a day that was not in any way a good day for Jesus, as he had to go through a lot of really hard and awful things. But I want you to remember as you watch this just a couple things. I want you to remember first and foremost that what you see today, even though it's going to be super sad and really hard to watch, I want you to remember that this was all part of God's plan and that Jesus went through it all for us because he loves us that much. He loves you that much. And the other thing I want you to remember as you're watching this really tough stuff is that this is not the end of the story. Where our story ends today, it's really just the beginning. And as sad as we are when we watch today's part of the story, on Sunday, on Easter Sunday, it's going to be that much joy and even so much more. So you just have to hold on for that. But for now, let's kind of watch today's part of the story. And as we do, we'll just remember and give thanks to Jesus for showing us such love and for loving us enough to go through what he went through. Let's watch together.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how he created us and loves us so much that he made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. And now for an amazing story, inspired by the book of John, chapters 18 through 20.
For months, the Jewish religious leaders had been making plans to silence Jesus. The things he said and did challenged the way they had always lived. He was upsetting the world as they knew it.
It is better if one man dies for the people than if the whole nation is destroyed.
Then, one of Jesus' closest friends, Judas, betrayed to the religious leaders where Jesus would be praying after the Passover meal. The leaders sent soldiers to arrest Jesus, and he allowed the mob to take him.
Do you think I can't ask my Father for help? He would send an army of angels. But then how would the scriptures come true? They say it must happen in this way.
As Jesus was tied up and led away, Jesus' closest friends scattered, though Peter and John followed at a distance. What was it like for them? Try to imagine for a minute that you're Peter. Only hours before, Jesus told you,
Before the rooster crows, you will say 3 times that you don't know me.
And you, Peter, protested that you would die before deserting. But now Jesus has been arrested, and if you get too close, they might take you too. So you trail along like a stray dog as soldiers haul Jesus inside the home of the high priest.
What's happening in there?
The servant at the door frowns as she peers at you.
You aren't one of Jesus' disciples, are you?
I am not.
You're ashamed to lie, but what good will you be to Jesus if you get arrested too? You huddle close to the fire in the courtyard as voices float through a high-up window.
What's this foolishness you've been teaching?
I didn't say anything in secret. Ask the people who heard me. They certainly know what I said.
You feel sick. Now they've taken Jesus. You know nothing will stop them. Someone else asks whether you're one of Jesus' followers, and you snap.
No, I'm not.
Minutes later, another man asks whether he saw you in Gethsemane with Jesus. Your stomach churns.
Nope, not me.
You realize you have denied Jesus 3 times, just as he said, and all you can do is stagger to your feet and run away, weeping. Now, imagine you're John instead of Peter. Somewhere in the chaos, you've lost Peter. So when soldiers haul Jesus away to the Roman governor, all you can do is follow, alone. From the back of the crowd, you witness the terrible drama as the governor Pilate brings Jesus out.
What charges are you bringing against this man?
He has committed crimes.
Pilate takes Jesus away for questioning. You can only pray that he sees through all the lies and stops this madness. You're horrified when Pilate brought Jesus out again, battered and bruised.
I find no basis for a charge against him.
No, crucify him!
Crucify him!
Pilate hands Jesus over to the soldiers who force him to carry the heavy beams of his own rough cross. You know where they are going.
Golgotha.
It's a hill outside the city. As in a bad dream, you force yourself to follow. Along the dusty road, you find Jesus' mother, Mary, her sister, and Mary Magdalene. None of you can speak. You arrive at Golgotha in time to see soldiers nail Jesus to the wooden bars with heavy spikes and raise the cross up high. You strain your eyes to read the sign placed above Jesus' head.
King of the Jews.
You nearly choke on dust and grit. You've seen Jesus do amazing, powerful things, and yet he's allowed himself to be taken and battered. You glance over and see Mary sobbing, so you place your hand on her shoulder. When you look back up, you see Jesus watching his mother through the pain in his eyes.
Dear woman, here is your son.
Jesus looks directly at you, eyes filled with love.
Here is your mother.
Yes, Lord.
You are overwhelmed to know that Jesus trusts you to take care of his own mother. But the terrible truth sinks in. Jesus knows that he will die. He's planning on it, just as he's been saying for weeks. A short time later, you see him lift his gaze to heaven.
It is finished.
Then he bows his head, and you can see the life leave his body. All the air seems to leave your own lungs too. You thought Jesus was God's chosen one. How can he be dead?